there's a lot of efforts go into hiring, right? I think on average, I've done a couple of hiring drives, and on average, it was like a 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 shot, right? And still you don't know if the person is the right fit. So this eliminates a lot of that, where you could basically scale. And these are the kind of use cases where I think GenAI will shine.
Let's pick up one real customer use case, Atul. So I have come across a customer who is into the education sector. They're helping and training students to write better essays and improve their grammar and language so that they can crack the admissions in one of the top universities across the world. They already have a portal where students can submit the essays or whatever the documents that they have, and then there is a bunch of experts on the language who read these essays and they provide comments on what can be changed, right? For example, hey, this you have used an active voice here, this should be a passive voice, the grammar could have been changed here, this tone doesn't sound good, it can be much more pleasing, the title could have been better, and then the overall rating for that article or the essay, and then an overall comment on how you could restructure this. Now, this is something that they have been doing for a couple of years. Maybe they have had more number of students where they have real data, let's say about 2,000 to 3,000 students that they have trained, and these articles are with them. And they said, hey, can you guys help us in leveraging AI now, right? I mean, yes, we do have people, but if we want to scale, if we want to onboard more students, then I need more experts, right? And I want to keep the cost low because this is seasonal business. It's not something that it is gonna be there throughout the year. Now, with this challenges, Atul, one thing is like the regular approach where you design an AI and a model for each and every use case, and you build your own model and you deliver. And then one other thing is, how can I use GenAI? So this question, if I ask you, how would you suggest this customer, what would your advice be for this customer on leveraging AI for this use?
For this kind of a use case, the real key here is how the deployment of a solution like this could go hand in hand with their business objective, like scaling their business, right? So the benefit of using GenAI and something like what you mentioned, right, for students, the benefit is that you will reach a much wider proportion of the students that are in need of this today, and you could reach it much quicker. So, in a nutshell, I'm talking about good marketing, right? So in this case, you have the confidence to market to your limits and actually get a huge footfall on your application or your website or your service, right? And you don't have to, considering you've tested and you have your user experience right, you have to actually worry only about getting more people on, right? You don't have to worry about employing more tutors or more people who could actually guide these students, right? And you can actually do a lot more with the people you already have, rather than go into the cycle of hiring multiple people and training. Not that hiring is bad, it's just that hiring is for most companies, especially at a certain stage of growth, hiring is a lot of efforts go into hiring, right? I think on average, I've done a couple of hiring drives, and on average it was like a 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 shot, right? And still you don't know if the person is the right fit. So this eliminates a lot of that, where you could basically scale. And these are the kind of use cases where I think GenAI will shine, where you have your process and what you need to do, and you know what to do, right? And you want to make it reach everywhere, and you can use GenAI to do it. So this is like a very good example of how businesses should be looking at things, where if they get their process right and they know that GenAI can basically help, and then they use it to scale in the right way. So this is an example of proper usage of scaling, right?
Can we come up with some sort of a framework, let's say sort of questions that we can ask whether GenAI is can be used here, or Gen AI can be used here, and whether it is something that I should build in-house, or should I use something like a prompt engineering service and then integrate as an API. For example, in this particular use case, we can ask the customer how many students are going to come or submit their essays. If it is anything less than 500 for a one particular season, and how many articles and how long these articles are, how many words are there usually in these articles, and how often do they submission, right? I mean, it may be 500 students, but then every student submits 10 articles for that season.
Plus that also how many people are actually handling these 500 students, because if it's one person can handle 5, right? And this is one of your pain points today, that my customer facing team, or my in this case student facing team, is not able to take on more, and I'm not able to sell more because of this, right? So basically I'm telling students that, oh no, you can't join next week's batch, we're full. Maybe we'll be closing a batch 1 month later, so maybe 1 month later you can join, right? So think people who in their day-to-day, in their business, have to say things like this, where, okay, we will do it, this is full, we will do it next, like that. So I think that is also an indicator where you need to start using technology and generative AI to ease your operations, right? So that's one. Second is, like you mentioned, the frequency of things, like in this case the upload, or how many students are there, right? I mean, since it's seasonal, and so because if it's something that is seasonal and it's not throughout the year, right, and you are able to extract whatever you need in your company guidelines, so you needed to do ABC, and you can do that by a pre-existing LLM service provider like OpenAI or ChatGPT, then I don't think someone should go to make their own AI. So if it's doing the job that you needed to do, right, then I don't recommend anyone to start to try to train their own LLM, because I mean, there's a lot of management that goes on there, right? There's a whole life cycle you have to manage, and you would slowly be putting on more effort there than actually growing the business. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
Right. So one thing is, you have this particular customer who wants to build this solution and wants to scale things with Gen AI. It can definitely reduce the burden on the people that they have.
Yes.
They can onboard more students. That means they can widen their service and increase their turnover. And they can invest in a technology where they don't have to build something from scratch. Use something that is available, design a prompt, hire an agency who can put all these things together and achieve that. So you don't have to invest everything on AI.